Welcome to Sunflower Stitches. I'm here today with Karen, who is the owner of Sunflower Stitches, in this lovely studio to talk about some of the exciting things that she has been working on recently. So Karen, tell me a bit about Sunflower Stitches.
Sunflower Stitches came about when I moved down to this area. So I moved down not knowing anybody down in this area, and I wanted to create a way of meeting people. I'd always enjoyed crafting, so I decided that I'd utilise my skills and start up a business, which was Sunflower Stitches. So I thought about all the things that I enjoyed doing, and patchwork and quilting was really one of my main loves, along with embroidery as well. And that's really how it was born. So I started off in another house with another studio and really wanted to get beginners on the map. So that was my priority, was to try and take away any barrier to them coming to learn how to stitch. So I set my workshop up with some sewing machines and some equipment for them. So all they needed to do was bring their fabric with them. And that's where we started all the courses that we're running now. And that was back in 2017.
You've just said about embroidery and about patchwork. What are they parts of your signature? What sort of things are those what you really combine, or?
Yes, so embroidery is really my first love. So my sister and I embarked on a City and Guilds embroidery quite a few years ago. We had a great teacher whose focus was really on, she was a painter and a sculptor. So the whole focus of our City and Guilds was learning about that side of the craft. And I really enjoyed the embroidery. And then from there, I then went on to explore patchwork. And then when I started to think about what I enjoyed doing, I wanted to combine both of them. And so that's where I started to bring in the embroidery and the patchwork together, and to create that sort of textural feel of the embroidery, along with the creativity of all the different blocks and things within patchwork.
Oh yeah, I really love some of the work that you've been doing recently. It's sort of very hip, to be honest with you. I've seen a lot of this sort of thing being up and coming, and you seem to have been sort of right at the point of the start of it.
Who knew?
But having that as your signature has been really good.
Yes.
So I'm really interested in what you've been doing with this particular quilt and your latest book.
Well, so my sister and I mentioned my sister just now, but we growing up together, we started on our journey of crafting together, and we really enjoyed going to some of the big shows, and we got hooked on quilting, and we signed up for some block of the months, that appeared through your door, and each month you had something exciting to do. And then my sister and brother-in-law moved house a few years ago, and so we went up to the knitting and stitching show at Ali Pali. And I said to Lynn, I wanted to make them a quilt for their new house, and I wanted her to choose her fabrics. And so she chose her fabrics. This was in 2019, and then they sat, as a lot of our crafts do, in a corner for a while, because I just wanted to design and create something that meant something to both of them. And it wasn't until 2020, when I had a bit of headspace, like a lot of people, that I had the opportunity to sit down and design something that was meaningful for them. And hence the birth of what I called Sugar and Spice and All Things Nice, because the quilt was then very specific and very personal to things that they enjoyed, they loved, they'd experienced, and it had the fabrics that my sister chose, so the colourings and everything else. So that's how the Sugar and Spice quilt came together. And then while I was designing it and making it up, a lot of my ladies suddenly said that they'd like to make it themselves. So we started the course. So in 2021, we started the course, half of it started over Zoom because we weren't allowed, obviously, that time of year to meet socially. And then they came back into the workshop. But what was so lovely about that was that all of the ladies took the quilt and made it personal to themselves. And those quilts have gone all around the world. This is very emotional.
It's very, it's obviously a really personal quilt
Yes.
for you, so that you feel you've got every bit of emotion in that.
Yes.
So passing that on must have been an absolute,
It was. Yes.
an absolute pleasure.
It was.
So everybody loved this quilt.
Yes, they did. Yes.
And they all want to do it, and they can all feel your emotions in it. So what led to the book?
Well, so that again was a lot from my ladies saying that I needed to publish the pattern. And at that time, it was, I was still working full time at that point. So the timing wasn't quite right for doing any sort of book or publishing. And then I happened to have a conversation with Gal Lawther, who was here as a guest tutor.
Yeah.
And mentioned about my dream of publishing my first book, and she said, well, why don't you? Like, why don't I? Because why not? So I thought about it for a little bit longer, and then my circumstances changed. I lost my job, and then this became my full-time job. So I decided that the timing was right to actually go ahead and explore the possibilities of creating the book. And that was a real journey. I have to say it was a real journey, obviously, for Gal and also for myself, to understand everything that was involved in putting a book together. And Gail was absolutely brilliant in editing the book and giving me her words of wisdom and helping to get it off the mark in a very short timescale, because I did initially say to them that, we only had a few months and I really wanted to launch it at Festival of Quilts. So we managed to pre-launch. So we managed to have a simple, sort of sample of what the book was going to look like. And then we started to sell it after that at the end of August this year. And it has been a joy and a journey of discovery and joy as well, and admired by a lot of people, which has been lovely.
It's an absolutely beautiful quilt and a beautiful book that shows you absolutely everything you're going to want to do in it.
Yes.
Yes. So what's next though?
What's next? Well, I have some more quilts that I'm designing. I've got another one in the pipeline that I'm hoping to bring into a book, which I taught last year, which was my Christmas mystery quilt. And again, that incorporates a lot of embroidery with patchwork and some applique as well. So I'm hoping that might come out as a book soon. And I'm in the process of designing another quilt, which I'll be teaching next year, which is based around my neighbourhood.
Sounds really exciting. It sounds like everything is really coming together for you now.
I hope so. I mean, it's something I love. I love what I do. I really enjoy putting beginners on the start of their journey with quilting, and I get a real reward from seeing what people have achieved, and that's what really drives me to carry on teaching.
Thank you so much for talking to us today, Karen, and we are so looking forward to Sugar and Spice coming on to Justhands-on.tv. Can't wait. It's so exciting.